For centuries, the galaxy had written humanity off as a brief, violent spark. The archives of the Jalari consensus held little more than fragments of old conflicts. The Terran wars, the desperate migrations, the final communications cut short by silence. To the scholars of the alien empires, Earth was a dead ember. A ruined world buried in dust, its children long vanished, its fleets rusted into forgotten graveyards orbiting nameless suns. The consensus held symposiums to remind their citizens, the Terran danger is no more. They burned themselves out. Generations believed it. The silence was proof. The galaxy moved on, confident that humanity had become a cautionary tale, ambitious, reckless, extinguished. But legends have a way of waiting. The first anomalies. It began on the rim, where the void was thick with dust clouds and drifting wreckage. Explorers charting forgotten lanes stumbled upon signals, short, sharp bursts of ancient Terran code. At first, they dismissed them as random background noise, echoes bouncing through derelict stations. But the signals persisted, structured, pulsing in deliberate intervals. The Uskari patrols investigated. They found hulks of starship frames orbiting a collapsed moon, metal skeletal remains, long thought lifeless. Then came the power readings. Buried deep within those ruins, faint surges of reactor ignition flickered like heartbeat after centuries of stillness. Ghosts were stirring. Admirals laughed at the reports. Old wiring, decay, nothing more. Yet the patrol logs grew louder with each week. Ruins that should have been cold were humming again. The graveyards were never empty. What the galaxy had mistaken for tombs were in truth arsenals, waiting in silence. The Terrans had hidden their fleets not in vaults of stone, but in space itself. Entire shipyards disguised as debris fields, stations built to look like derelicts, fleets arranged like drifting carcasses. For 500 millennia, automated systems had maintained them in perfect slumber. Engines oiled by machine arms, reactors cycled in silent readiness, weapons calibrated against the slow erosion of time. When the codes were triggered, by what no alien knew, the illusion shattered. Ancient ships that had seemed pitted and broken shed their false hulls. Panels unfolded, armor plates shifted, reactor cores flared like suns awakening. The Ghost Fleet was no graveyard at all. It was a storm held in chains. Engines that remembered fire. Across star systems once mapped as empty, silence broke. Engines ignited with the deep roar of nuclear fury. Plasma trails tore across black space, carving scars of light where no human presence had existed for ages. Hull markings long unseen. United Terran Command, Earth Naval Strike Group, 7th Solar Armada, blazed white against the dark. Aliens who watched the resurrection felt dread coil in their stomachs. Every registry check confirmed the impossible. The codes were valid. The command sequences still aligned with Terran signatures. And most haunting of all, the ships moved with precision, as though no time had passed. Their formations closed seamlessly, vast phalanxes maneuvering like predators' long-denied prey. The silence had not been death. It had been waiting. The shattering of confidence. The first contact came swift and merciless. The Jalari fleet dispatched to contain. The anomaly never even fired. Their sensors flickered, their comms jammed by ancient encryption too fast to counter. The Terran vessels surged forward, hulls lined with rail batteries that fired in eerie synchronization. The sky over the dead moon lit with fire. Consensus ships, modern, proud, and supposedly superior, were carved apart in seconds. Their shielding cracked under kinetic salvos that struck like thunder. Their maneuvers failed before human targeting systems honed in and tore through them, as if predicting every step. It was not just technology, it was readiness. These ships had not aged, they had been preserved. Every bolt, every line of code, every strategy woven into their bones had been waiting for this moment. The galaxy realized with horror that humans did not fade into silence. They prepared for it. The return of the forgotten storm. Word spread like wildfire through the empires. Merchant routes whispered it first, Terran ghosts walk again. Then refugees carried darker tales, fleets appearing from nowhere, engines burning as if the void itself surrendered before them. No alien navy could withstand them. Fleets that had ruled the stars found themselves outmatched by relics. But the true terror was not just in their strength. It was in their discipline. The armadas moved as if guided by invisible hands, formations reassembling, tactics executed flawlessly, codes transmitting across centuries without error. They did not speak, yet they acted with one will. Legends claimed that humanity had perished. Now the galaxy wondered, had they ever truly left? Or had they folded themselves into silence, waiting for the day to rise again? The panic of the living. On every world, panic rose. The scholars who had dismissed Terrans as ashes were dragged before councils. How could this be? Leaders demanded. The answer was bitter. We believed silence was death. We never asked what silence was hiding. Fleets scrambled to form alliances, but every calculation ended in despair. For if these were only fragments of humanity's forgotten strength, how vast must their hidden power truly be? And still no envoy came. No voice from Earth spoke. Only the ships, moving like revenants across the void, responding to commands written millennia before. The clash in the stars. It all came to a single battle. A coalition armada gathered in desperation. 100 alien war groups, 5 empires combined, their ships forming the largest force seen in ages. They met the Terran fleet above a shattered world once marked as barren. For a moment, the silence was heavy. Then it broke. Engines screamed. The void tore with light. Human warships descended like the hammer of forgotten gods. Their formations cut through the coalition like blades through mist. Kinetic slugs cracked hulls open. Rail storms shredded fleets. Plasma lances ignited cruisers into falling suns. Alien commanders cried out, but their ships could not hold line. Against every maneuver, the Terran ghosts answered with flawless counterstrike. Their weapons did not stutter. Their formations did not break. And for the first time in living memory, the galaxy saw the storm that humans had preserved. The haunting aftermath. When the fire faded, silence returned, but it was no longer the silence of absence. It was the silence of dread. The alien armadas lay in ruin. Fragments of wreckage drifted among Terran phalanxes still burning with reactor glow. The Terran fleets did not pursue conquest. They did not announce their presence. They simply returned to slumber, folding back into the debris fields as though the battle itself had been a warning. But the message was clear. The whisper in the void. The galaxy could not unsee it. They now knew humans do not bury their weapons. They preserve them. They hide storms in silence. They leave arsenals waiting for the day the stars themselves demand judgment. Whispers spread from world to world. If this was their forgotten fleet, what else lies waiting? Entire civilizations shivered at the thought, vaults beneath dead suns, shipyards disguised as dust clouds, codes written into the fabric of time itself. The silence had broken, and with it, the galaxy learned that humanity was not a memory. They were a shadow waiting behind the stars. And when they returned to battle, they returned as ghosts that even the living could not escape. Closing narration. So the empires trembled, and the stars themselves seemed smaller. For the silence that once promised peace now promised fear. Because humanity had taught the galaxy a final truth. The deadliest weapon is not fire, nor steel, but patience. And when Terran patience ended, the silence broke. The Council of Vaer met beneath the shifting crystalline skies of Taloran Prime, a capital world where history was etched in living stone. For millennia, these beings had catalogued the rise and fall of empires across the spiral arms. The chronicles of extinction stood as both warning and comfort. Civilizations came, civilizations fell, and the galaxy endured. And among those ancient entries was the name that now meant nothing more than dust. Humanity. They burned bright, said Chancellor Lorvac, his translucent mandibles clicking in distaste. Too bright. Their wars devoured them as surely as any rival, their homeworld lost in ash, their colonies starved or surrendered. Their silence has lasted 800 years. The others agreed. In the Council's archives, humanity was a footnote, violent, cunning, tragically short-lived. They had vanished into their own storms, leaving only ruins scattered across forgotten sectors. Some whispered they had burned themselves out deliberately, a final defiance to deny others the chance to inherit their arsenals. But to the galaxy at large, they were a curiosity, not a threat. The silence of Earth had lasted so long that most species no longer even remembered its coordinates. And silence meant safety. Or so they thought. The first echoes. The signals began in the outlying Targa's expanse, a region long abandoned after its resource veins ran dry. Patrol beacons, installed by the Quarren Dominion, picked up strange pulses on narrowband channels, ancient frequencies unused for centuries. At first,